We begin tonight at Waitangi, which Bill English today visited for the first time as Prime Minister. He was there for the iwi Chairs Forum. He will not be there on Waitangi Day or at Te Tii Marae the day before it. Instead, the Prime Minister will be a guest of Ngāti Whātua in Auckland. Next year, where? Because Bill English has floated the idea of taking Waitangi commemorations, quote, on the road. In Waitangi today, he met with about 150 iwi leaders for what he described as open and gritty discussions. Our political editor, Jane Patterson, was also there.
There was a calm and orderly reception for Bill English and a large ministerial delegation at the Iwi Chairs Forum in Waitangi this morning, with just one lone protester outside. The Prime Minister says they covered a number of topics, some of them difficult, including a shift away from the whānau first approach to the placement of children under new child, youth and family legislation. However, one of the iwi leaders at the forum, the chairman of Waikato Tainui, Rahui Papa, says the principle of whānau first is very important to iwi.
We think that whānau, hapu and iwi are best placed to look after children that have been removed under into the state's hands, and we think that if they've given the opportunity to be in their own context with their own heritage and legacy, then that helps the child and it helps alleviate some of the pressures.
Mr English says the government is open to changes to the legislation, but cautioned they wouldn't be anything dramatic.
Part of the discussion is about everyone understanding what's already in the legislation, which the government believes is in pretty good shape. There's some other views that it needs to go further, or this clause or that clause needs to be changed, and we're open to having that discussion because it is so important. Mr English will not attend the pōwhiri for the Crown at Te Tii Marae on Sunday, as he would not have been able to speak on the marae, and he'll be hosted by Ngāti Whātua in Auckland on Waitangi Day itself. He says while he hasn't had any specific invitations, if he is still Prime Minister next year, he would be open to celebrating Waitangi Day in other parts of the country. That's been the most common suggestion I've heard from the public and from iwi, so I think it's worth investigating because the treaty was signed in quite a number of places, and I suppose the benefit of it would be that New Zealanders who don't live in the far north see a bit more of the relevance to their local area.
However, Harry Burkhart, chairperson of the Ngāti Kuri Trust Board and host of the Iwi Forum, says Waitangi as a location does have special significance.
So in terms of Waitangi, this is very special. The place of Waitangi is very special. So the ability for us to honour that legacy is relatively critical for us. As
Te Tii Marae prepares to welcome opposition party leaders and MPs on Sunday, it's emerged some media have been asked to pay up to $10,000 for rights to film on the marae. Mr English is staying well clear of that particular debate.
If it's an argument between the media and Te Tii Marae, I'd have to say they are well fitted to have an argument, those two parties, and they should just head off and have it.
From Waitangi for Checkpoint, Jane Patterson.